The 10 powerful psychological tricks to influence people. There are just few psychological tricks to win people over through positive influence and not by hurting someone or being a jerk. So, how to influence people? Rather, how to win friends and influence people. Let's find it out. Number 10. Get a favor done. The trick is, get the person you want to win over to do you a favor. This is called the Benjamin Franklin effect. As the story goes, Benjamin Franklin intended to be a friend, a man who disliked him. He asked the man if he could borrow a rare book, and when he agreed to lend the book to Franklin, he offered his heartfelt thanks. Following this, the person who never even wanted to talk with Franklin formed a friendship with him. According to the Benjamin Franklin, a person who has done an act of kindness for you once will be more willing to do it another time, compared to a person who have obliged in some way. Researchers decided to put this theory to the test. Scientists discovered that a researcher who asked people for a personal favor was rated favorably by them in comparison to the other group of peoples. Although it seems counterintuitive, but it's a well-established theory. When someone helps you, they consider you as a person worthy of doing the favor and conclude that you are likable. The number 9. Aim higher than your real goal. The trick is, in your first attempt, ask for a lot more than you actually want and scale it down the next time. Known as the door in the face (DITF) technique. This is one of those psychological tricks to influence people that works by making a ridiculous and impossible request in your first attempt, which obviously the man being asked will reject. Then after a while, you again make a request, this time much more feasible. Basically ask for the thing you actually wanted. This trick may feel counterintuitive, but the way this works in your favor is that the person being requested most likely feels bad that they had to refuse your first request, even though it was an impossible one to keep. So the next time you request for something that's doable, they feel compelled to help you. Scientists found that this trick worked pretty well. Provided the same person asked for the favor both times, the person who refused to agree to the bigger favor feels obliged to agree the smaller one only when the same person they refused approaches them the next time. Number 8. Use their names. The trick is, use a person's name or a particular address depending on the situations. According to the writer Dale Carnegie, famous for his book How to Win Friends and Influence People, using the person's name you want to win over is crucial. He explains that the person's name is the best surrounding word to him or her in any language. Our names are a key part of who we are, and hearing it spoken out loud validates our identity. Hence, we are more likely to have positive feelings about the person who validated our existence. According to the as-if principle, using a particular address or a title can have a strong influence on the concerned person. The idea behind the as-if principle is that by continuously acting like a particular type of person, you eventually become that personality. Think of it like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where you expect something and it comes true simply because you believe that it will, and your behavior aligns with what you want. This principle can be used to influence others too. When you start referring to someone by a particular name, with time, they started thinking of themselves to be that. Simple applications of this principle include addressing an acquaintance you wish to be more friendly with a friend whenever you interact with them, or calling someone you wish to work under boss. However, be careful because this approach can come across very cheesy way. Number 7. Use flattery. This trick is, flattery used in a right way will always get you where you want to be. This is one of those psychological tricks that work always. Flattery may seem like a very common thing that most people wanting to impress another person resort to, but there are some conditions you have to keep in mind. If you want to do it right, most importantly, flattery must look sincere, otherwise it may backfire. Researchers have examined the incentive behind reacting positively to flattery and come up with some important findings. Simply put, your flattery must not disturb the concerned person's cognitive balance. That is, what you say must align with how they naturally feel and think about themselves. So, when you flatter someone with high self-esteem, changes or you are will be thought of as sincere because you are validating how they naturally feel about themselves. On the other hand, if you flatter a person with low self-esteem the same way as you do in the previous case, then it may do more harm than good because it doesn't concur with how the person perceives him or himself. Hence, they might like you less. However, this done is no way mean that you degrade a person with poor self-esteem. Number 6. Mirror people's body language. The trick is, mirror the behavior and body language of the people who want to be more likable too. A great way to make yourself more likable is by using the technique called mirroring. Usually, it comes naturally to many people, but this tactic can also be used consciously to blend with the people you like. It is called the chameleon effect. You try to imitate other people's speech, behavior, and manners in order to fit better into your environment. The researchers who studied mirroring found that when someone is imitated in a subtle manner, the chances that the person acts friendly toward the one who copied them are much higher. The second finding by the researchers is even more intriguing. It was found that the person who is mirrored behaves nicer to people in general, even to people not associated with this situation. Mirroring works well because the person whose behavior is copied feels validated. Positive feelings are generated towards the person who validated them, but it also boosts the person's confidence and makes them feel happier. Hence, they are more well disposed towards other in general. Next, number 5. Make tiredness work in favor. Trick is, approach a person with request when he or she is tired. When someone feels tired, it is not just their physical body that's exhausted, but their mental energy is drained out too. Hence, if you make a request when a person is tired, they are more likely to agree with you without thinking too much over it. In most cases, you won't get a clear response to your request when someone is tired. They will probably just say that they will do in the next day because they are too exhausted to make a clear decision at the time. And most people want to keep the promises they make, so they follow through what they said the day before. It's a natural psychological response. This is one of the best and most powerful psychological tricks for everyday life. And number 4, make an offer they can't refuse. The trick is, start with a simple request and that can't be refused and work your way up to actual one you want. This approach is exactly opposite of the door in the face technique, where you begin with the impossible request and then scale down from there. Here you start off with a really small request the person can't refuse. By making a request you know they won't refuse, you are getting them to make a commitment to helping you to agree with, and hence the chances of this person agreeing to a bigger request that you later make are much higher. This phenomenon has been tested by scientists with regard to marketing. Scientists began by convincing people to support causes related to the environment and rainforest, which is a straightforward request about thinking something most people care about, hence easy to get them to agree. It was observed that once the people had agreed to show support for the environment, it was much easier to convince them to buy products that promoted the welfare of rainforest and the environment. However, it's not going to work if you make the easy request and immediately scale up to the bigger one. According to the psychologist, you should give it some time, a day or 2 days at least, before making the second request. Then, the number 3, Keep quiet when someone is wrong. The trick is, when someone is wrong, don't point it out to them. You may be tempted to correct someone who is wrong, but never do that. Dale Carnegie explains in his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, pointing out someone's mistake does the reverse of making them fond of you. Directly telling a person that he or she is wrong hurts their ego to the very core. A polite conversation where you express your disagreement is a better way to go about it. This technique is called Ransberger pivot, and it was invented by Ray Ransberger and Marshall Fritz. It's pretty simple. They suggest that you don't start arguing straight away. Rather, you listen and understand what they are saying and how and why they feel the way they do. And when you begin talking, start by explaining the common ground that you share with the person, and then move on to explaining your views more deeply. This way, you get a chance to correct them without hurting their ego, and they will actually listen to what you are saying. This one is clearly one of the best psychological tricks to get someone to like you. And then number 2, repeat back what they say. The trick is, paraphrase their words and repeat back to show that you understand them. A positive way to win people over and influence them is to make them feel that you understand their feelings and emphasize with them. A technique called reflecting, reasoning work well in this regard. You just need to paraphrase their words and repeat them back. This is called an effective way to connect with people. Research shows that reflective listening used by therapists creates a good therapeutic relationship between the patient and therapist. People are likely to trust and express more emotions when this method is used. In the same way, you can use this method while talking with your friends to make them feel more comfortable. Listen properly to what the person is saying, then paraphrase it and turn it into a question so that it confirms that you understand them. By doing this, just prove that you care about them. Hence, the chances of them listening to what you have to say are higher, and they might even think of you as a good friend. And then the last one, number 1, nod while you speak. The trick is, nod a lot while you converse with the person you want to win over, especially before you ask for a favor. Scientists have found that